Time travel has always been a fascinating topic that's been largely explored in a multitude of written works of science fiction and countless sci-fi films for many, many years. But what's even more fascinating is that tales of time travel go much further back in our history, with some ancient texts, hundreds or thousands of years old, describing cases of people traveling into the future. With the existence of a variety of ancient legends and myths from different parts of the world, did certain ancient civilizations really possess some knowledge of time travel? Well, though we can't definitively answer this just yet, for now let's check out some of these ancient texts of people who supposedly defied the laws of space and time. One of the centuries-old stories that we will be talking about is the tale of the Seven Sleepers. The story of the Seven Sleepers of Ephesus is a tale that's quite significant in both the Christian and Islamic traditions. The Christian interpretation of the story goes like this. During the Christian persecution overseen by the Roman Emperor Decius sometime in 250 AD, 7 young men were accused of being worshippers of Christianity. These individuals were given some time to renounce their faith, but instead they chose to surrender their material possessions by giving them to the poor and retiring to a mountain cave. Inside this cave, the 7 young men prayed and eventually fell asleep. When they woke up, they thought they only slept for a day, but when they wandered into the city to buy food, they were astounded to find buildings with crosses of Christianity attached to them. And so they came to the stunning realization that they had not just slept for one night, but for 200 years, and they awoke at a time when Christianity had already spread across a vast expanse of the Roman Empire. A similar tale about these sleepers can be found in Surah 18 of the Quran. Referred to as the story of the companions of the cave, it tells almost exactly the same story as the Christian version, only the Quran does not provide the exact number of the people in the cave that were miraculously transported a couple of centuries into the future. There are also several examples of time travel found in the Bible, and one of them is a story about the disappearance of Jeremiah, as told in the Deuterocanonical book of Baruch. In the first part of this book, Jeremiah is told by God that Jerusalem will be destroyed, that he has to bury and protect the vestments of the temple. After that, he's to go into exile with his people until the day comes that God would allow them to return. But before the destruction of Jerusalem, Jeremiah instructed Abimelech, a eunuch, to bring back figs from the orchard of Agrippa. Abimelech, however, ends up falling asleep in the orchard, and when he wakes up, he was told by an old man that he miraculously slept for the last 66 years. One of the very first stories that describes time travel can be found in the Hindu epic Mahabharata, an ancient text which is believed to have been written no later than 400 BC. The story in this text follows a king, his daughter, and their quest to find her the most suitable husband. Revati was the only daughter of King Raivata Kokudmi, a monarch who ruled the prosperous kingdom of Kusasthali. Because the king thought his daughter was so beautiful and accomplished that none could prove good enough to marry her, Kokudmi took Revati to Brahmaloka, the home of the creator Brahma, to seek the powerful god's help in finding his daughter the perfect suitor. When they arrived, Brahma was listening to a musical performance, so they had to patiently wait until the performance was completed before Kokudmi could pay his respect and make his request to the god. Once he did so, Brahma only laughed at the foolishness of the king. The god revealed that during the time they waited in Brahmaloka, 108 yugas has already passed on earth, and one yuga represents 4 million years. With Kokudmi and Revati completely astonished over how much time had passed on earth during their short stay in Brahma's domain, Brahma had to explain to them that time runs differently in different places of existence, which is interestingly similar to how modern physicists and astronomers conceptualize space-time today. Another ancient text that we'll be discussing in this video is the Buddhist text of Pali Canon, which, like the previous stories, also mentions the relativity of time. It's written in this collection of scriptures of the Theravadan Buddhist tradition that in the heaven of the 30 devas, or the place of the gods, time passes at a different pace and people live much longer. So for example, 100 years on earth is equivalent to just a single day in the heavens. The last story about time travel in this video comes from the Japanese legend of Urashima Taro. Urashima Taro is the protagonist of the legend about a fisherman who rescued a turtle from harm, which later turned out to be the daughter of the Emperor of the Sea, Ryujin. To personally thank him and reward him for his actions, Taro was brought to the bottom of the sea to visit the palace of the dragon god, where he met the emperor and Princess Otohime. Taro stayed in the underwater palace for 3 days, but he decided to go back home to his village where his aging mother lived, and so he asked the princess's permission to leave. But before he left, she gave him a mysterious box that will supposedly protect him from danger so long as he never opens it. However, when he reached the land, he discovered that 300 years had already passed since he left the village and traveled to the bottom of the sea. In grief of all that he had lost, he opened the box the princess gave gave him, which let out a cloud of white smoke. Suddenly, Taro aged rapidly, and from the sea, he heard the voice of the princess reveal to him that what's kept inside the special box was actually his old age. All these stories and texts I've just mentioned all paint the idea of time travel in the same way that modern science has theorized it today. Basically, that time is relative and not absolute, and that the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. And while these myths and legends may be just stories concocted from the brilliant imagination of the writers, they have actually opened an avenue of discourse that compels us to contemplate what it could mean for humanity if there are those among us who have the means to travel through time, as well as the power to modify our history.